The great hall of the celestial convergence floated in open space like a giant crystal flower. Long beams of soft light stretched between distant stars, forming walls that shimmered with slow-moving colors. Hundreds of alien delegates filled the curved platforms that circled the center, each species sitting in shapes and forms that matched their bodies. Some floated in glowing bubbles. Some rested on pools of liquid metal. Others stood on tall, thin legs that clicked softly against the floor. In the very center of the hall rose a living throne made of crystal and light. It pulsed gently, like it was breathing. This was where Queen Zerylith of the Vierxian Empire sat, her tall, graceful form glowing with soft blue light. Her skin looked like polished glass, and faint lines of energy moved beneath it, changing color based on her thoughts. Her many eyes, dark and deep, watched the room in perfect stillness. Today was different. For the first time in galactic history, a human stood in the center of the convergence. Elias Ward adjusted the simple dark jacket he wore over his uniform. It was not fancy. It did not shine, it did not glow, it did not float or change shape. It was just cloth stitched together by human hands. He stood with his feet planted firmly on the smooth floor, hands relaxed at his sides and eyes lifted toward the queen. Around him, whispers spread through the hall like a quiet wind. Humans were new to the galaxy, strange, loud, emotional, small in body but somehow large in presence. Many species had watched them from a distance for years, unsure what to think. Some believed they were dangerous. Others believed they were weak. Most believed they were unpredictable. Elias took a slow breath. He could feel the weight of 1,000 stares, but he did not let it bend his back or shake his voice. A soft hum filled the hall as the queen spoke. "Human representative," Queen Zerylith said, her voice smooth and echoing as if it came from both the air and the light itself. "You stand before the Vierxian throne. State your purpose." Elias stepped forward once, careful not to move too fast. "I am Elias Ward, Ambassador of Earth," he said. "I come to offer friendship, shared knowledge, and peaceful connection between our peoples." The queen studied him in silence. The blue light beneath her skin shifted slowly, like waves under ice. "I do not like humans," she said at last. The words echoed through the hall. A few delegates leaned toward each other. Some blinked in surprise. Others tilted their heads, waiting to see how the human would react. Elias did not frown. He did not raise his voice. He did not step back. Instead, he smiled. "That's okay," he said gently. "We don't always like everyone either, but we still believe it's better to understand each other than to turn away." The light beneath the queen's skin flickered. For just a moment, a new color appeared. It was soft, warm, almost pink. The entire hall went silent. Vierxians did not change color like that. Their light patterns were known, studied, recorded. This shade did not exist in any galactic record. Queen Zerylith straightened slightly on her throne. Her many eyes narrowed, not in anger, but in something closer to confusion. "Your response is illogical," she said. "Dislike should be met with distance, not acceptance." Elias shrugged lightly. "On Earth, we've learned that distance can turn small problems into big ones. Talking usually helps more." The queen's glow shifted again, the strange color appearing and fading like a shy sunrise. A ripple of quiet movement spread across the hall. Zerylith raised one elegant hand and the sound vanished. "You will remain," she said. "You will serve as my personal diplomatic observer during your stay in Vierxian space." Gasps and clicks and soft energy pulses filled the air. No outsider had ever been invited into the queen's direct presence for more than a single meeting. Elias blinked once. "That's more than I expected," he said honestly. "Expectation is a human flaw," the queen replied. "I wish to study it." Two tall Vierxian guards stepped forward. Their bodies were made of hard light shaped into smooth armor, and their eyes glowed a steady white. Elias followed them, casting one last glance back at the queen. For a brief second, he thought he saw that warm color return to her glow. The living palace was unlike anything Elias had ever seen. It was not built. It was grown. Walls curved like the inside of a shell, made of crystal that looked both solid and soft at the same time. Light flowed through the floors like water under glass. Tall, thin plants reached upward, their leaves glowing faintly as they responded to the movement of air and sound. As Elias walked, the palace seemed to notice him. The light beneath his feet brightened with each step, as if the floor itself was curious. "This place is beautiful," he said quietly. One of the guards tilted its head. "Beauty is not its purpose, it is efficient." Elias smiled to himself. Sometimes those are the same thing. They led him into a wide chamber that opened to a view of space. Stars drifted slowly past a clear crystal wall, and distant galaxies painted the dark with soft color. Queen Zeralith stood near the window, her back turned. Her glow was calm blue again, like nothing unusual had happened. "You look at the stars like they are old friends," she said without turning. Elias stepped closer, stopping a respectful distance away. "We've been looking at them for a long time. Before we could even reach them, we made stories about them, dreams." "Dreams are inefficient," the queen said. "Maybe," Elias replied, "but they're what helped us get here." She turned to face him. Her eyes searched his face as if trying to find something hidden behind his calm expression. "Your species is loud," she said. "Your signals are filled with emotion. Joy, fear, hope, anger, it is chaotic." "Yeah," Elias admitted. "We are, but we've learned how to live with it. Even use it to take care of each other." The queen's light shifted slightly, softer than before. "Vierxians abandoned emotional expression long ago," she said. "It nearly destroyed us." Elia's smile faded, replaced by gentle curiosity. "What happened?" She hesitated. "That alone was strange. Our world faced a great loss," she said slowly. "We believed emotion made us weak, so we removed it from our public lives, from our leaders, from our laws." "And did it make you stronger?" Elias asked. Zeralith looked back at the stars. "It made us stable." Elias considered that. "Those aren't always the same thing." The queen's glow flickered again, that warm color brushing the edges of her light like a secret trying to escape. Days passed. Elias stayed in the palace, walking its glowing halls, speaking with scholars, engineers, and cultural observers. Wherever he went, Vierxians watched him closely. He laughed when he was amused. He grew quiet when he was thoughtful. He thanked those who helped him. He apologized when he made mistakes. Slowly, the palace began to change, not in shape, in feeling. The lights grew warmer when he entered a room. The air seemed to hum more softly. Even the guards began to tilt their heads less stiffly when he spoke. Queen Zeralith observed all of it. One evening, she invited him to sit across from her at a smooth crystal table. Between them floated a small orb of light, shifting colors gently. "What do you feel right now?" she asked. Elias thought for a moment. "Curious," he said. "A little tired and honored to be here." The orb glowed brighter. Zeralith watched it closely. "The device reads emotional energy," she said. "Yours is strong, clear." "What does yours say?" Elias asked. The queen looked at the orb. It shimmered, and for just a moment that soft, warm color appeared again. Her eyes widened slightly. "That is new," she said. Elias smiled, slow and kind. "Welcome to being human, or at least a little closer to it." She looked at him for a long time. "I still do not like you," Zeralith said. Elias chuckled softly. "That's okay, we're not aiming for like, we're aiming for understand." The stars beyond the window drifted on in quiet motion. And for the first time in thousands of years, the queen of the Vierxian Empire sat in silence, feeling something she had no word for yet, while a human watched the universe with her, not as a subject, but as a companion. The morning light inside the living palace did not come from a sun. It came from the walls themselves. Soft waves of pale gold and blue moved across the crystal surfaces, like a slow sunrise that never ended. Elias stood near the wide window again, watching a cluster of distant stars drift past. He had learned that time felt different here. The palace followed the rhythm of space, not the ticking of clocks. Behind him, quiet footsteps made of light touched the floor. Queen Zeralith entered the chamber. Her glow was calm, steady blue, but Elias noticed something new. Around the edges of her light, like a soft shadow, was a hint of warmth that had not been there before. "You are awake early," she said. "I didn't really sleep," Elias replied. "I kept thinking about everything I've seen here. My brain doesn't like to slow down when it's curious." The queen tilted her head slightly. "Curiosity is another form of chaos." "Maybe," Elias said, "but it's also how we learn." She walked closer to the window, standing beside him. For a moment, they both looked out at the stars in silence. "The council is restless," Zeralith said. "They believe you are influencing the palace. The scholars say the light patterns are changing." Elias glanced at the glowing walls. "I'm not trying to change anything. I'm just being me." "That may be enough," she replied. Later that day, Elias was invited to visit the Archive of Origins, a massive chamber deep within the palace. It was a place few outsiders ever saw. The room was shaped like a great dome, its ceiling so high it faded into soft mist. Floating around the space were thousands of glowing shapes, each one holding a piece of Vierxian history. Some were small orbs. Others were long ribbons of light that slowly twisted and turned in the air. A group of Vierxian scholars waited for him. Their forms were smaller than the queen's, their light less bright, but their eyes were sharp with focus. "You wish to learn," one of them said. "I always do," Elias replied. They guided him through the floating records. As Elias moved closer to each glowing shape, images and sounds appeared in the air. He saw ancient Vierxian cities built under purple skies. He saw oceans of light instead of water. He saw gatherings of their people, once full of color, movement, and shared emotion. "This was before the silence," the scholar explained. "The silence?" Elias asked. "The time when we chose stillness over feeling." They showed him a memory of a great cosmic storm, a wave of strange energy that had passed through the Vierxian home system long ago. It had caused their emotions to grow wild, uncontrolled, spreading from one mind to another. Panic had become fear. Fear had become chaos. "We nearly destroyed ourselves," the scholar said, "so we learned to lock our emotions away. We became stable, predictable, safe." Elias watched the images fade. "Safe can be good," he said, "but it can also be lonely." The scholar did not answer. That evening, Queen Zerelith called for Elias again. This time, she led him into a quiet garden inside the palace. The plants there glowed softly, their leaves opening and closing like slow breaths. "This place was made before the silence," she said. "It was meant for reflection." Elias walked slowly, careful not to touch the glowing plants. "It feels peaceful." "It feels strange," Zerelith replied. "When you are here, the plants react more strongly, they brighten." "Maybe they like company," Elias said. The queen stopped walking. She looked at one of the plants as its light gently pulsed. "Do you believe all things feel?" she asked. Elias thought. "Not in the way humans do, but I think everything reacts to something. Light, sound, presence. Maybe feeling isn't just inside us. Maybe it's between us." Zerelith's glow shifted, that warm color moving across her form like a quiet wave. Across the galaxy, news began to spread. The Vierxian queen was changing. On distant worlds, alien leaders watched recordings of her recent appearances. They saw the subtle shifts in her light, the way she paused before speaking, the way she stood closer to the human ambassador than protocol allowed. Some were curious, some were worried. Back in the palace, the council of Vierxian elders gathered in a chamber of sharp, bright light. Their forms glowed a steady, unchanging blue. "This human is a variable," one of them said. "Variables lead to instability." "He brings emotional resonance," said another. "We sealed that away for a reason." The council sent a message to the queen, requesting a formal evaluation of Elias' ward. Zerelith read the message in silence. When Elias arrived that day, he could tell something was different. The guards stood straighter. The air felt tighter, like a held breath. "The council wants to study you," Zerelith said. "They believe you are a catalyst." "Sounds scientific," Elias replied. "Should I be worried?" "They do not mean harm," she said. "But they do not understand you." Elias smiled softly. "That makes two of us." The evaluation took place in a wide open chamber with no windows. The walls were pure white light. The council elders floated in a circle above the floor. They asked Elias questions about Earth, about human history, about love, loss, laughter, and fear. Elias answered honestly. He spoke about families, about mistakes, about hope that survived even in dark times. As he spoke, the lights in the room began to shift, barely noticeable at first, then slowly warming. The elders watched in silence. When it was over, one of them spoke. "Your emotional output is unusually strong. It affects our systems." "Sorry," Elias said. "It's kind of built in." Zerelith stood near the edge of the room. Her glow was no longer just blue. Soft colors moved through it like gentle clouds. After the council left, she stayed behind. "You did not hide anything," she said. "I don't really know how," Elias replied. "It's easier to just be real." "Real," she repeated, as if testing the word. Later, they returned to the window that looked out into space. A slow-moving nebula painted the stars in soft purple and gold. "I still do not like you," Zerelith said, but her voice was quieter now. Elias laughed gently. "You say that a lot." "It is comfortable," she admitted. "A boundary I understand." "And what's on the other side of it?" Elias asked. She did not answer right away. Her glow shifted again, that warm color growing brighter. "I do not know," she said. "That is what troubles me." Elias rested his hands on the crystal railing. On Earth, we say that not knowing is where most of the good stories start. The queen looked at him. Then perhaps, she said slowly, this is only the beginning of ours. Far beyond the palace, ships passed through star paths, carrying the news of a changing queen and a human who walked beside her. Worlds waited, cultures watched. And inside a living palace made of light and memory, two very different beings stood together, looking into a universe that suddenly felt a little less silent. The day of the galactic summit arrived with a quiet kind of pressure, like the universe itself was holding its breath. The living palace changed its light patterns early, shifting into bright, clear colors that spread through every hall and chamber. The air hummed softly, carrying signals and messages from 100 star systems. Ships began to arrive in the space around the palace, their shapes and colors filling the dark like a moving sky of metal and light. Elias stood in his room, looking at his reflection in a smooth crystal wall. He adjusted his jacket, then laughed quietly at himself. "You're really doing this?" he said under his breath. A soft tone sounded at the door. Queen Zirelith entered. Her glow was brighter than usual, not just blue, but layered with gentle shades that moved like slow waves across her form. Elias noticed the warmth in those colors had become easier to see. "The delegates are assembled," she said. "This summit will be broadcast across the known galaxy." "Just a small audience, then," Elias replied with a grin. She studied his face. "You use humor when you are uncertain." "Yeah," he admitted. "It helps keep me steady." They walked together through the palace halls. The walls glowed softly as they passed, like the structure itself was aware of their movement. Vierxian scholars and guards stepped aside, watching them with quiet focus. When they entered the grand assembly chamber, the space opened wide around them. The chamber was a massive circle, floating in open space. A transparent field held in the air, allowing everyone inside to see the stars beyond. Platforms of different shapes and sizes hovered around the center, each holding delegates from different worlds. Some delegates were tall and thin, their bodies wrapped in flowing energy fields. Others were round and moved slowly, carried by soft gravity waves. A few looked almost like living clouds, their forms shifting as they whispered to each other. Every eye turned toward Elias and the queen. They took their place on a raised platform near the center. A low hum spread through the chamber as the broadcast began. Queen Zirelith stepped forward. Her voice carried across the space, clear and calm. "Leaders of the galaxy," she said, "we gather to speak of stability, progress, and the future of our shared space." Her glow was steady, but beneath it, colors moved softly. She gestured toward Elias. "This is Elias Ward of Earth, a human. A species many of you have watched from a distance." Elias felt the weight of the moment settle on his shoulders. He took a slow breath and stepped forward. "I don't have a big speech planned," he said. His voice echoed gently across the chamber. "I'm not here to tell anyone how to live. I'm here because I believe we all get better when we try to understand each other, even when it's uncomfortable." A ripple of quiet movement passed through the platforms. One delegate, a tall being made of shining plates, leaned forward. "Your presence has disrupted Vierxian cultural systems," it said. "Is that your intention?" Elias shook his head. "No, I didn't come to change anyone. I came to listen. Sometimes when you really listen to someone, you start to hear parts of yourself you forgot about." Zirelith's glow shifted slightly. Another delegate spoke, its voice like wind through stone. "Emotion leads to conflict. History proves this." Elias nodded. "It can, but it also leads to connection, to care, to people helping each other when there's no rule saying they have to." The chamber grew quiet. Queen Zirelith stepped beside him. "For generations, my people believed stillness was the highest form of strength," she said. "We believed stability meant silence of the heart." Her light began to change. Colors spread across her form, not fast or wild, but calm and clear. Soft gold, gentle pink, deep green. Shades no one had seen on a Vierxian before. Gasps and signals and low-energy pulses filled the chamber. "I have learned," she continued, "that stability without connection is not strength, it is only survival." The broadcast carried her image across the galaxy. On distant worlds, leaders and citizens watched in silence. They saw a queen who had ruled for centuries showing something new, something uncertain, something alive. Elias looked at her, surprise and respect in his eyes. She met his gaze for a moment, then turned back to the chamber. "This human did not force this change," Zirelith said. "He did not command it. He simply stood before me without fear of what he felt." The chamber remained still. One by one, delegates began to respond. A being made of liquid light spoke. If the Vierxian queen can change, perhaps we all can. Another added, perhaps emotion is not a weakness but a language we forgot how to speak. The summit continued for hours. Elias answered questions. He told stories of Earth, of humans helping strangers after storms, of artists painting feelings they could not explain, of families arguing and then forgiving, not because it was efficient, but because it mattered. Zeralith listened to every word. When the broadcast ended, the chamber slowly emptied. Ships drifted away, carrying the message of what they had seen. Back in the quiet halls of the living palace, Elias and the queen walked side by side. "You spoke differently today," Elias said gently. "So did you," Zeralith replied. They stopped near a pool of glowing light that reflected the stars above. "I did not plan to reveal myself like that," she said. "But when I stood there, I felt something pushing forward. Not from you, from me." Elias smiled. "That's usually how the big stuff starts." Her glow softened. "The council will not be pleased," she said. "They don't have to be," Elias replied. "Change doesn't ask for permission, it just asks for courage." Zeralith looked at him for a long time. "Your species is strange," she said. "You build ships to cross the stars, yet you still struggle to understand yourselves." "Yeah," Elias agreed, "but we keep trying." That night the palace lights dimmed to a gentle, warm glow. The plants in the garden opened wide, their leaves shining brighter than ever. Elias sat on a smooth, crystal bench looking up at the moving stars. Queen Zeralith joined him, sitting in a way that was still not quite human but closer than before. "The galaxy is changing," she said. "Yeah," Elias replied. "It kind of does that." "Because of you," she added. He shook his head. "Not because of me." "Because people are ready to listen." She watched a distant star flare softly. "I still do not like you," she said. Elias laughed, warm and easy. "I was starting to worry you'd stop saying that." Her light shifted, and for the first time the warm colors did not fade quickly. They stayed, glowing like a quiet promise. "The galaxy feels smaller when you are near," Zeralith said. Elias looked at her, surprised. "Smaller can be good," he said. "Means things feel closer." They sat in silence, not an empty silence, but a shared one. Far away, messages traveled between worlds. Cultures began to talk about emotional exchange programs, about shared art, shared stories, shared understanding. And in a palace made of light and memory, a human and a queen watched the universe move, not as distant rulers and visitors, but as two beings standing at the edge of something new, something neither of them fully understood yet, but both were willing to step into together. The universe did not change all at once. It changed in small, quiet ways. In the days after the galactic summit, messages flowed through star paths like gentle rivers of light. Worlds that had once spoken only in trade numbers and formal signals now sent questions about stories, music, and memory. Some asked about Earth's art, some asked about human celebrations, some simply asked, "How do you feel today?" Inside the living palace, the light patterns grew warmer with each passing cycle. The walls no longer shone in sharp, perfect blue. Soft colors moved through them, slow and calm, like a living sunrise that never fully faded. Elias walked through the palace halls, feeling the change in the air. Scholars stopped him more often now, not just to study him, but to talk. One asked him, "What does it mean to miss someone?" Another asked, "Why do humans look at the stars when they are sad?" Elias answered as best he could. He spoke about home, about people who mattered, about how the stars made humans feel small, but also connected to something bigger. Queen Zeralith watched all of this. She stood on a high balcony one evening, looking out at the slow movement of ships arriving and leaving. Her glow was no longer something she tried to control. Colors moved through her freely now, gentle and honest. The council stood behind her. "You have changed the empire," one elder said. "Our systems are adapting, our people are questioning old laws." Zeralith did not turn. "They are not questioning," she said. "They are feeling." "That is what we feared," another elder replied. She finally faced them. Her eyes were steady, but her light was warm. "You feared chaos," she said. "I feared emptiness. I will not return to that." The elders were silent. Later that night, Elias prepared his small travel case. The human fleet had sent a message. His mission was complete. Earth was calling him home. He sat on the edge of his bed, turning a simple metal ring in his fingers. It had belonged to his father. He always carried it when he traveled far. A soft light filled the room. Zeralith stood in the doorway. "You are leaving," she said. Yeah, Elias replied. That was always part of the plan. Her glow dimmed slightly, the colors slowing. The palace will feel different, she said. So will I, Elias answered. This place kind of gets under your skin. They walked together one last time through the garden. The glowing plants leaned toward them, their leaves opening wide as they passed. Do your people always return home? Zerelith asked. Not always, Elias said. But we usually carry home with us even when we don't. She considered that. They reached the edge of the landing platform. Elia's ship waited in the distance, its lights blinking softly. The stars stretched wide and endless beyond it. I still do not like you, Zerelith said. Elias smiled. I'd be disappointed if you didn't say that. Her glow shifted, and this time a new color appeared. It was not pink, it was not gold, it was something deeper. A mix of warmth and calm, like sunset and starlight together. The palace lights responded. The walls, the floor, even the air seemed to echo the same shade. What is that? Elias asked softly. Zerelith looked at her own hands, light flowing between her fingers. I do not know, it only appears when you are near. Across the galaxy, sensors picked up the change. Scholars on distant worlds watched their screens in shock as a new form of energy spread through Vierxian space. It was not power, it was not signal, it was resonance. The council elders arrived, their steady blue light now touched with softer tones. This color, one said, it does not exist in our records. Zerelith looked at Elias. Then perhaps, she said, it is not ours alone. Elias stepped closer to the edge of the platform. I didn't mean to leave something behind. You did not leave it, she replied. You showed us how to find it. A gentle wind of energy moved across the platform, carrying the new color into the open stars. Messages began to arrive from other worlds. We see it, one said. We feel it, said another. What does it mean? Asked a third. Zerelith turned toward the gathered council, the scholars, the guards, and the watching galaxy. It means, she said, that connection can travel farther than any ship. Elias took a slow breath. Guess humans really did make it to the stars. She looked at him. You always had. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the color drift into space, touching distant ships and platforms with a soft glow. Finally, Elias picked up his travel case. Time for me to go, he said. Zerelith nodded, but her light dimmed slightly again. The palace speakers activated without command. Human Ambassador Elias Ward, her voice echoed across the living palace. You are recognized as a bridge of the first color age. Elias blinked. That's a pretty big title. It is accurate, she replied. He laughed quietly. I was just trying to be polite. Zerelith stepped closer. The new color glowed between them, bright and steady. I still do not like you, she said. But, Elias replied gently, you're going to miss me. Her glow flared, and for the first time she did not deny it. Elias turned and walked toward his ship. Each step felt heavier than the last. He stopped at the ramp and looked back. Zerelith stood at the edge of the platform, her form bright against the stars. The palace behind her shone with the new color like the entire structure was holding a memory of him. I'll come back, Elias said, not as an ambassador, just as me. Zerelith lifted one hand, light moving around it like a soft wave. The universe will remember you, she said. So will I. The ship's door closed. The engines hummed to life, not loud or powerful, but steady and sure. As the ship lifted away, the new color spread farther, reaching beyond Vierxian space, touching other worlds, other cultures, other hearts. On Earth, people looked up at the night sky and saw a faint, strange glow among the stars. No one could explain it, but many felt something warm settle inside them. In the living palace, Queen Zerelith stood alone, watching the empty space where the ship had been. I still do not like you, she said softly to the stars, but the universe did not feel dimmer. It felt brighter, and somewhere between the light of distant suns and the quiet hopes of countless worlds, humanity's greatest mark on the galaxy was not a fleet, not a weapon, not a throne. It was a feeling, a color. And the simple, powerful idea that no matter how vast the universe became, no one ever had to face it alone.